Today I learned that there was once a race canceled for the cars going too fast. I saw this post over on the Motorsports and Cars account, and I was wondering, how does that happen? So I dug into it, and it's kind of a crazy story. So CART was their name and rivaling Indy was their game. Their goal was to be kind of like Indy, except the faster alternative, and for all intents and purposes, it seems like they were. But when they headed to Texas Motor Speedway, that extra speed ended up being to their detriment. For those unfamiliar with oval racing, the corners are usually banked. This isn't Texas, but this is just the best illustration that I could find showing it. Kind of like a Hot Wheels track. If you think of it like that, it makes the most sense. The cars are able to sling themselves into this corner with a lot more speed. It'll have them stick to the wall, which allows them to go much faster. And basically, when CART went to Texas, their speeds were so incredible. The highest documented that I saw was 238 miles per hour. And just to give you an idea, NASCAR at the time was running low 190s, so that's a huge jump up. And the crazy part is that 238 miles per hour came after they initially tested, and the owner of the track was like, whoa, you should probably slow these cars down a little bit. So CART implemented some safety changes that did slow the cars down, and that after that was when we saw that 238 mile an hour mark, which is absurd. So what's the issue? I mean, we're all here to go fast, right? Were they afraid of high-speed crashes? Well, not exactly. Apparently, the cars were going so fast that they were creating a situation with the G-forces that the human body was unable to withstand. There are a ton of articles out there about this, but Car Throttle did the best job of putting it together, and they said that basically drivers were experiencing 5 G-forces for 18 seconds of each 23-second lap, which is an entire G above the 4 G-forces that NASA astronauts experience during a liftoff situation. And obviously, astronauts train for that, and it's only a couple of seconds. It's not 18 seconds every lap, which is going to be hours upon hours of these insane G-forces. It got to the point where drivers were getting out of the car and unable to walk in a straight line. They were browning out. There was all sorts of mental things going on because the human body just couldn't withstand that force. And at that point, the doctors came in and said, yeah, let's stick to like 225 miles per hour tops. And since they couldn't make that sort of adjustment at the last second, the race was called off. But the crazy part is that it happened just 2 hours before the race was scheduled to go on. Rumor has it that there were already about 100,000 people in attendance. I'm sure people traveled to get here. It was a big event because of this high speed that was advertised. And I have to think that those people were probably pretty upset that they weren't going to see anything that day. It did end up in a legal battle, and I think CART ended up settling for a number in the millions of dollars. But in hindsight, it kind of makes you wonder, like, should they have known about this beforehand? Should they have maybe done some testing and figured out what was going to happen before they just unleashed the drivers here? I mean, I'm not a racing promoter, but it kind of seems like an unprecedented event. I mean, do you even really think about the level of G-forces being too high as a racing promoter? I don't really know, but, from the legal side of things, if I was the promoter, I would be making sure that I had all of my ducks in a row because, you don't want anybody to get hurt. And that sounds like a big lawsuit if something terrible came of it. Not to mention that something terrible could potentially come of that. Like, crazy situation, fun piece of motorsports history. Thought you should know.